What's going on, everybody? Good evening. What up, Rodrigo? Nice to see you again, my friend. Happy New Year to you too. Hope you guys had a good one. Definitely was nice and relaxing for me. A little time away from the charts, a little time away from work. What's going on, Joe? Good to see you. Welcome in, everybody. We're going to get started here in just a couple of minutes. Just going to give everybody the chance to hop on in before we get rolling. What's going on, Nando? What'd you do to PDD? All right, hang on. I just got the PowerPoint up, but now I'm going to have to check. Oh, baby. Let's see. Where did Nando hit it at? This guy hit it yesterday, 912. Let's see. Man, not bad, dude. Not bad, Nando. I respect it. That was a nice hit, dude. This one's been one of the strongest China names in a while for sure. It's interesting to see how strong this one's been compared to the rest of the market. I mean, you got things like, let's see, bunch of random ones looking pretty terrible. Sector as a whole basing out, looking reasonable for maybe a longer term position at some point. Maybe not yet, but coming soon. But yeah, interesting to see all the strength coming out of there. Definitely a nice catch. I mean, even Baba is pretty suppressed. A little bit cleaner though. Oh yeah, decent look to it after today. Filled that gap. Yeah, I mean, pretty evident in PDD for sure. What else is there? JD is another one. That one looks pretty terrible. Yeah, I mean, that one definitely looks like the best for sure. Ever since this gap up, it's been a nice one on a heater. Gonna give it a couple more minutes and then we're gonna get into it. Anybody have any questions? Can I check out Tesla real quick? Sure, I'll pull it up just because we got a couple of minutes. Honestly, and this is one that I reviewed in my. I'm actually just gonna open that up really quick and show this to everybody. Give me 1 second. Oh, I gotta re-download it. So a couple days ago, I posted like a whatchamacallit, like a larger review of a bunch of different monthly charts. So let's open this up really quick. So highly recommend you take a look at this if you haven't already. But I covered pretty much exactly what I'm about to say in Tesla in this, so I might as well just say it again here. Zooming in a little bit on from a monthly perspective, so longer time frame here. Tesla recently rejected, kind of faked out above this monthly trend, and then did it once again a couple weeks ago. So really, I mean, I'm looking for this lower trend, and it doesn't need to necessarily happen tomorrow or the next day. But from a monthly standpoint, I really would be completely unsurprised to see that monthly level come into play, which is generally shaping up real nice so far. Again, when you see a failed breakout like this, it's generally not a bullish sign, and especially when you get that follow through lower as well. There's nothing real exciting about this one to the long side for me. Maybe we're sitting right at this little uptrend. Oh no, we're breaking that too. So yeah, I mean, really nothing that I care about here at all. Is it at a decent spot maybe for a relief bounce? Possibly. But this isn't something that I trade, at least to the long side. And I don't really like shorting Tesla either. So it's just something that I'd personally stay away from. I think it looks like it wants lower. And I mean, I really wouldn't be completely unsurprised to see it back in this 220 in the next couple of weeks. So that's kind of where my head's at here. Yeah, really nothing to write home about for me. There's plenty, I shouldn't say plenty, but there's multiple other setups that I have significantly more conviction on in terms of a direction rather than this one. So not something that's at the top of my list, at least for the long side. Hopefully that answers your question, Al Brooks. We got River in here. Uh-oh, this is dangerous. This is the guy. You guys let this guy beat me for best lecture. I a little bit offended, but you know what? It's all right. I mean, this guy's getting close to the end of his life. His Medicare benefits are almost about elapsed, so I feel like we got to give him as many wins as he can get close to the end of the year. So just continue to be nice to the guy. I mean, he's 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 trying his best to really hang in there. So anything he can get, is gonna help make that guy's life a little bit better. I mean, he's really pushing 80 years old. So this guy's been trading since the Great Depression. So he's seen a lot. Guy's stressed out. So I respect giving him a little bit of love here and there. All right, everybody. How am I feeling about dis? I'll talk about that later. I want to get moving. We're a couple minutes after the hour. So welcome everybody. Welcome to the lecture for the evening. This is going to be the first one of the year. We got a lot of new members in here as well. So just to kind of introduce myself really quick, my name's Tostie. Been giving lectures here for, I guess now that it's January, I started in 2021. So officially my third year giving lectures here, which is a pretty cool milestone. If there was a competition for who was giving lectures the longest, definitely River wouldn't be the winner, but that's besides the point. That said, excited to be here tonight. I give a lot of lectures in here. I got my own tab where I talk a little bit about the things that I'm trading, charts that I'm looking at. And yeah, that's enough about me. Let's start talking a little bit about the content for the evening. So tonight, as you can see from the slide here, we're going to talk about volume. And I'm not going to spend too much time on the PowerPoint tonight. I'm going to kind of use the PowerPoint to introduce just basic idea of kind of what volume is, what it means, why it matters. And then we're going to move in a lot to some real examples and how to actually use this and how I'm currently using this in some of the trades that I'm currently managing. So, yeah, River really is pushing 80. I really wish I could say that I'm joking, but yeah, the guy's been collecting Social Security for going on what, 25 years, 15 years. So yeah, he's elderly, man. I mean, we every time we have the OOT convention, we got to get a one of them accessible buses to pick this guy up. River grew up with Al Brooks. Yeah, that's good. All right. Either way, guys, thanks again so much for coming this evening. And yeah, we're going to talk a lot about volume. So enough of the introductions. Let's just get right into it. So I guess just before we get going, talking a little bit about kind of purpose and intent tonight. As I mentioned in the message that I sent about 30 minutes ago, volume is arguably the most important indicator besides price. And I hate to even call it an indicator because it truly isn't. It's truly just a part of price and a part of analyzing a stock from a technical viewpoint. However, technically you could consider volume to be an indicator. However, it is the most important, real-time indicator that you can possibly master. And it's so much more important than any moving average, any, silly, really anything, right? I mean, this is what matters the most in the market outside of price. It's really price and volume. Those matter most. Everything else is supplementary to this. So volume is an incredibly, incredibly important concept to have a real good grasp of. And there's definitely a lot of nuance to it. A lot of kind of interesting patterns to be derived from taking a look at volume. So a lot we're going to unpack tonight, a lot of different examples that we're going to review. But again, by the end of this lecture, you should expect to have a more holistic understanding of what volume is and how to use it in your trading. And ultimately, I really hope that having this understanding and being able to look and analyze volume from this perspective that we discussed this evening is going to really help start increase the quality of the trades that you take. So that said, let's get right into it. I'm going to start, as all my lectures kind of do, with a little bit more basic material, I guess, just to give a little bit of an introduction to how my lectures work. Generally, we start with some material on the easier side just to get everybody warmed up. And then later in the lecture, we're going to move into things that are a bit more difficult. One thing that I'm pretty, I guess, one thing that I do very frequently is talk quickly. So I'm going to do my best to keep things slow. And if you guys have any comments or questions, feel free to throw those in the chat and I will get to them as soon as I can. That said, let's take a quick look at what volume actually is. And again, starting from kind of a ground level here. And very simply put, volume represents the amount of shares traded in a given time frame. So here we're looking at the chart of SPY back from March 2022. And you can see at the bottom of the chart, we got a bunch of these blue bars here, which are the volume bars. And essentially, every single one of these volume bars represents the amount of shares traded in one day. And the reason behind that is we are looking at the 1 year, 1 day time frame. So what that means is we're looking at a year of price action, and every single one of these candles spans a trading day. So from 6:30 Pacific to 1 p.m. Pacific, that is what one of these candles represents and the corresponding volume bar also represents. And just going back to the charts really quick, just so we can kind of cross-reference, if we take a look, here's the Tesla 1 year, 1 day that we were looking at. This chart looks a little bit different than what we saw on screen, but it's the same idea. Every single one of these bars, it corresponds to a volume bar, and each one of these volume bars represents 1 day of trading activity. If we zoom into other time frames, for example, we have the 5-minute. Now each one of these volume bars represents 5 minutes of trading activity. And one thing that you're going to notice right off the gate is the number that you see in the bottom left corner here is significantly larger for the volume on the daily or the weekly timeframes compared to something like the 1 minute. And the reason behind that should be rather obvious. Generally speaking, there's much more trading activity going on throughout the period of an entire day compared to 1 minute, right? So for example, in any 1 minute, maybe we exchange, for example, on Tesla, it looks like 250,000 shares, 120,000 shares. So, a couple 100,000 shares every minute, right, on Tesla. Whereas if we look at the daily, it's 160 million, 100 million. So clearly the scale of volume significantly changes based on the time frame that you're looking at. And this is going to be an important concept, an idea that we continue to develop throughout the evening. How do you turn up or down the volume on TOS? I'm not exactly sure what you're referring to when you're talking about turn the volume up or down. Do you mean like change where it's displayed? Because if that's what you're asking, to change where it's displayed in TOS, you go to appearance, and I think it's in equities, maybe appearance, somewhere. Hang on, I should be able to find this. Overlap volume. So it's in general, overlap volume, and this changes how the volume looks. If that's what you mean, turn up, turn down. I don't know. Flips has to yell at it. How can you see the volume on TradingView? It should just be there. The volume should just be there on the chart by default. But if not, you can look it up as an indicator and just add it. But from what I remember from TradingView, it's just there. So that's the big idea about volume. And I don't really want to go too far in depth on necessarily all the basics and all these examples I have here in the PowerPoint. I want to really focus more on live charts and live examples this time around. So you might be wondering, great, we know kind of generally what the volume looks like, and what specifically does this represent? Well, one volume, the number one, if the volume is the number one, essentially what that means is one share has exchanged hands. So somebody has purchased a share from someone else. So for example, if I sold one share to every person in this lecture right now, currently there's 59 people here, so the volume would be 59 shares traded. For example, in this week on Tesla, there was a billion volume. So what that means is 1 billion shares exchanged hands throughout this week. So 1 billion people purchased shares or sold shares or vice versa. And it's important to note that the market is a zero-sum game as well. So for somebody to purchase a share, there has to be somebody that sells that share as well. So shares don't just appear. Somebody has to physically sell a share for somebody else to purchase a share. Got a question from Caleb. Is one volume also a call put? No, that was just an example. However, all equities and derivatives generally have some kind of volume that they display. So for example, we're looking at Tesla here, which would be considered an equity, and you can see the amount of volume traded in any given day. Whereas if we look at an option contract for, I guess we got NEO up right now, you can see the volume on this 9 call for January is 5,177. And the meaning behind the volume is the exact same in both instruments. All it represents is the amount of shares that have exchanged hands in a given day, right? And again, obviously some caveats to that, right? Depending on the time period, it's going to represent volume differently. So the 5-minute is based on, shows how many shares were exchanged in 5 minutes. The hourly is how many shares were exchanged in a minute or an hour, et cetera, right? It goes down the line from there. Does that answer your question, Caleb? All right. Well, let me know in the chat. Cool. So yeah, that said, that's the big idea behind volume. And that's really the basics. Essentially what you need to know is that volume represents the amount of shares traded. Does anybody have any questions on kind of the fundamental meaning of volume? Any questions on that? Okay. Well, if you have no questions, I want to start talking a little bit about actually analyzing volume now. So volume tells us a very important story. Essentially, it shows us how many people are actually trading a given equity throughout a given time frame, which you can imagine is rather significant, right? Because imagine, for example, years and years ago, the way you would gauge interest in a stock is maybe you're sitting on the floor of the NYSE, right? And you're a floor trader. And the way that you can tell if people are interested in buying a stock or not is hearing how loud people are yelling, or hearing how frantic people are turning in their orders to the market makers or whoever's accepting orders at the exchange, right? So, 50, 60 years ago, that's how traders would gauge how aggressive people wanted to be in a given equity, is listening to how loud people were. And this is before candlestick charts. This is maybe even before, the significant rollout of the ticker tape, right? So long time ago, that's how people really were able to gauge interest in a given equity. Now, obviously, we have computerized trading, computerized charting, and as a result, our way of gauging interest in a stock is generally based on these indication of volume. So taking a look here at Tesla, we were looking at Tesla earlier before we started the lecture, but it's actually a real nice example of this, right? One thing that you're going to notice here that really stands out to me if we're just looking at volume is this area right here, right? Over the past 3 years, this specific area that I'm going to draw this box around represented the highest volume we have seen in 3 years, right? And even zooming out maybe back to 10 years, right? This is the highest volume we had seen really of significance since mid 2020, right? So yeah, about 3 years of time has passed since we've seen this much aggressive interest in buying this stock. So let's think about this in kind of real terms, right? For example, here, all this volume that we're seeing is, for example, we can think of a bunch of floor traders yelling to get into a stock. We can think of maybe some supplier purchasing large amounts of inventory and filling their warehouses with inventory, right? There's a couple ways we can think about what this volume actually means. So diving into this specific example, obviously we can see over time price had dropped, right? Over the really year period, price had dropped rather significantly, upwards of 70%, right? From 414 down to the 100 area, right? So I guess a 66% drop-ish. So the interesting part about this spike in volume is it comes very close to what ended up being the lows. And the way that you would think about something like this in real time is you'd be seeing price drop, right? Very obviously, price is dropping. And one thing that, oops, I didn't mean to do that. One thing to be very interested in when you're seeing a move like this is notice, if we zoom in a little bit more, we're seeing price drop further and further. And then closer to the bottom, we're starting to get these long downside wicks and very small candles, right? Notice how we have these two very large bars right here. I'm going to zoom in even more so we can see this example in specific. Try and make this readable as well at the same time. Always the fun part about working with charts. All right, so moving in to this specific example, notice on the way down here, we have two large candles, bear bars closing near their lows, moving down on rising volume, right? What this means is that there's more and more people interested in selling as we move lower, right? So this would essentially validate the trend, right? We're seeing price move lower, we're seeing volume increase. What essentially that tells us is that sellers are currently strong, right? They're in complete control. And as price is going lower, people are selling more. And another way to think about this and compare this to real life is imagine, and I always like to use this PS5 example, but I don't know why I'm drawn to it. But imagine, for example, the price of a PS5 all of a sudden starts dropping from 500 to 400 to 300 to 200. And as the price drops more and more and more, people are selling more, right? Which doesn't really make sense. But when you're looking at it and you're seeing more and more people drop the price of the PS5, you're kind of like, well, I guess I need to sell my PS5 too, because clearly people are really interested in selling their PS5s right now. So that's kind of what's happening here on Tesla, right? You're seeing more and more people sell their shares of Tesla. As a result, institutions are likely also liquidating their positions. Individuals are selling their positions because they're seeing this lower, they're seeing price move lower, they're seeing selling momentum increase, right? Next, I want to draw attention to these three candles right here. This is something very, very interesting. One thing that you'll notice is, again, we have this high volume moving price significantly lower on these three bars. Then all of a sudden, let's mark the closing price of this week right here. Let's mark that closing price out. For the next 3 weeks, right, these 3 weeks right here, volume is about the same or equal to what we saw in this previous week's bar. And you'll notice, again, big picture, this volume already is very high above average, right? This is not normal. This is clearly something going on here. And zooming back in on this example, you'll notice we have this high volume, but price went nowhere in 3 weeks. Insanely high, historic volume, right? Haven't seen volume like this in 3 weeks, and price went nowhere, right? This is an example of something called a volume anomaly. And this is essentially the source of many trade ideas that you can create for yourself, right? And obviously, we're looking at this example in hindsight. It's very easy to look back at any example in hindsight and say, oh, look what you could have done here. But I'm going to show you examples that I personally have proof of trading and am currently trading right now. I can't say that I actually caught this move. I was too scared at the time, to be completely frank and honest with you. But yes. So anyway, the important thing to note is that we're getting this rising selling volume on the way down. All of a sudden, we maintain this far above average volume, but price goes nowhere, right? And what this should be saying to you is that all of a sudden, sellers are no longer in control, right? We got this large move lower, but now we're starting to get some of these downside tails, right? These wicks to the bottom, but no progress lower, right? The trend is down, but we're not really moving anywhere, right? And what this means, what this is an indication of, is now buyers are beginning to quote unquote fill their warehouses with inventory, right? Price has dropped. We're seeing this volume stay steady and high, right? Very significantly above average still, but price is going nowhere, right? And the spreads of these candles are very, very small, but price is no longer dropping. So you have to be thinking the trend previously was down, volume is historically high still, and price is no longer moving lower and completely flat. Essentially, what we're seeing is the last of these sellers be absorbed by buyers, and buyers beginning to accumulate significant positions, right? Smart money, the best institutional traders, buy the lows, sell the highs. Very simply put. And that's a very cliche statement, but that is exactly how they trade every single time. And they have amounts of money that truly can influence markets. And when you see volume such as this coming in at the lows, seeing these candle spreads significantly drop in size, it's a very strong indication that people are buying any given stock, right? And obviously, looking back, right, from when this volume signal triggered to the max return, the equity moved 150% in under a year, right? Obviously, a cherry picked, bottom to top example. However, this is the idea behind looking into volume at a little bit more of a deep level, right? And another thing to note is even if you didn't catch this bottom right here, notice again how price moved higher out of this zone on even higher volume, right? And now this very clearly shows that somebody else is in control, right? Buyers are now very clearly in control based on these bars, right? Following that, we get an orderly pullback on relatively below average volume. We don't have any significant selling days, right? Or should I say weeks, right? All of these weeks, these red weeks, every single one of them is smaller than our initial move higher, showing that buyers are still in control of the trend, right? Which helps give conviction to trade something like the next leg, right? And you'll notice on this breakout, we get rising volume once again. So this is kind of bringing all the concepts together, right? This is obviously, we kind of moved into a rather advanced example really quick, but I really wanted to show you guys kind of the end goal for you all and really show you the benefits of looking at price and volume in this way. I personally really enjoy the analogy of thinking in terms of suppliers unloading and loading their warehouses. It's something that was described really nicely in the book by what was the name? Anna Cooling, in the volume price analysis book. And I think it's an excellent analogy and an excellent way to portray this idea. So does everybody generally understand this example at this point in time? I'm going to talk about one more example that worked out in the other direction. Okay. So let's talk about another example. What was that book you just mentioned? Volume price analysis. In the future, I plan on having specific lectures on that, which are kind of derived from that, but it's called volume price analysis. It's like I don't know, like a $20 book or something. It's well worth it. And I thoroughly enjoyed it myself. So next example is a similar idea, but opposite, right? So let's take a look at this example. So PLTR, right? One of kind of the most hated and loved small cap stocks. You'll notice here, like, let's just start from this point on, right? Let's just work with this snapshot here. You'll notice all of a sudden, massive spike of volume coming off of an earnings report, right? So real big, significant breakout, moving averages cross to the upside. We have these big volume bursts higher. This shows exactly who is in control, right? We get a nice orderly pullback here on low selling volume, right? So we have these previous two buy bars on high selling volume. We have this very small, insignificant pullback, super orderly, right? No significant drawdowns, no significant sellers stepping in. And once we tag the 9 EMA right here, another big burst of volume moving price higher. And this specific sequence that I just analyzed right here is one that you will see repeated over and over and over and over again, everywhere, right? So PLTR moved higher. Again, volume patterns very consistent with what we'd want to see in a strong uptrend, right? Again, the key of looking for these types of kind of uptrend supportive buying or volume patterns are looking for these standout buy volume days, right? And again, the way you can determine that is very simple. Use your eyes, right? Look at how much larger these volume bars are compared to the average, right? You can very clearly tell that the average volume is probably somewhere around this area, right? All of a sudden, you get multiple big days, right? The biggest in a few months, right? Out of nowhere. Well, not out of nowhere, it was off of earnings, right? And this led to a significant move higher. Very common setup to see, right? You can see something very similar on something like Shop, an example that I've covered before, right? Big move higher on volume, right? With a significant move higher to follow, right? Large gap left behind. So moving back to PLTR, what I really want to focus on though is not the move higher, but rather the subsequent reversal. So let's take a look at this reversal here. So you'll notice here on this day that we set new highs, we saw the largest selling we've seen in a couple weeks, right? Since end of August, right? So now we're in mid-November, almost December. All of a sudden, we see this significant amount of selling here off the highs. And it doesn't yet engulf the amount of buying that we saw on this earnings gap up, but this is definitely a red flag, right? It's not something that you just go blindly shorting off the rip, right? This isn't something that you just go short the very next day. The stock's still in an uptrend. You got the 9 above the 21. It would be illogical to go short here. However, this is something when you're looking at volume, when you're looking at price, you put in your back pocket and you just remember, hey, I remember PLTR had that big red day. I'm going to watch to see if there's any follow through in the future, right? And lo and behold, the next couple above average volume days are sell days. Boom, boom. Prices now move lower, set a lower high. The EMAs have now crossed to the downside. So for me, this would be something that is a very high probability setup for further downside, right? We have a confirmed lower high. The EMAs have now crossed to the downside. Sellers are clearly in control of the volume now, right? All our above average volume days are sell days. So as a result, any move into resistance should be one that should be taken not lightly, I guess. So for example, if we drew maybe a resistance level right around there, previous swing high here, previous swing low here, ends up being the top tick. Now, obviously, I can look back at any chart and find the high or low. It's not very hard, but just goes to show the power of this type of analysis. And again, even if you didn't catch the short here, right, seeing this other day rejecting the EMAs, right, another significant above average volume day is further confirmation that the trend is not up, right? And again, right, every single buy volume day is suppressed, right? There is no above average buy volume day at all, right? Look at this. Look at this buy volume. There's nobody buying, right? Literally nobody. This is all you need to see, right? I could care less about what the price chart is. If you showed me this, this is not a nice setup for further upside, right? And these are the types of things that you need to be mindful of when picking out your trades. And this is the reason why it's so powerful to be analyzing volume when picking out trades. And it can significantly increase the quality of the trades you take because volume truly tells the story. And that's something that so many people don't understand and fail to grasp or even try to grasp, is that volume is what really shows us what's going on under the hood, right? Price is one thing, but price means nothing without volume. Like if we got this big move down on no volume, it's insignificant, right? It doesn't matter, right? Same thing if we got this big move higher on no volume, right? It's insignificant. It doesn't matter, right? Because if we move higher but nobody's buying, what the hell does it matter, right? Imagine, for example, Tesla raises the price of, I don't know, their cars from $100,000 to $300,000, right? The price moved higher, right? So that's significant, but is anybody really going to buy that much of a price increase? If they do, then it's significant, but if not, why would you buy as well, right? And maybe that's not the best example, but regardless, right? Very clearly, you can see how these volume patterns materialized and are continuing to materialize in lower and lower prices. And again, right, this is something that is repeated over and over and over again. This is a setup that shows up all the time. So now I want to move into another example of a potential reversal, which is in progress. And this is something that has not played out yet. So obviously, as any trade idea, could be completely wrong, right? Could be completely wrong. But taking a look here, we're looking at XLE, which is energy, right? And as you saw here, I had drawn this nice long-term uptrend that it's currently sitting right by. And taking a look on the daily, a couple things to take note of here. You'll notice here, we got this little area of prior resistance, maybe somewhere around there. You could include those wicks. And something is significantly starting to change here, right? Previously, we had these large sell days where price moved lower. However, sellers failed to take price lower following this breakdown, right? So very similar to that Tesla example, this would be a failed break lower, right? We have this volume that shows us that looks like it's a significant breakdown. However, buyers are able to get their hands back on the wheel, bring price back higher, bring price back above the moving average. Now you can see how the volume patterns are beginning to materialize, right? We're moving up close to this area of resistance. And I guess generally what I'd like to do is pull up the volume profile here. Oh yeah, this makes the setup even better. Okay, so I don't want to talk about the volume profile too much this lecture because I'll really get on a tangent. But you can see here, right? Just take my word for it. If you aren't familiar with the volume profile, this is a significant area of resistance, right? You can see price moving above this area of resistance on rising volume, right? Significantly above average volume, right? And you'll notice we got this initial move up on above average volume here. Then price and volume consolidated. And as price went nowhere, we didn't see any significant increase in buying or selling volume, which is something that you want to see in consolidation. You want to see that volume drop off in consolidation. And now that we're getting that breakout, we're seeing significant volume return to the markets. So the reason I bring this up is because this is an example that hasn't materialized yet, but it's showing all the characteristics of a strong play rooted in volume price analysis, right? And what I'd really probably be looking for is above this shelf at this point to get in, probably would be targeting, let's see, this swing high here. And I mean, really up to here after that. I mean, that's the next good level. Regardless of that, right? I'm not here to give trade ideas necessarily. However, this is the big idea and things that I'm personally looking for in trades. And this isn't a trade that I'm currently involved in, but this is the exact thought process that I personally look for to weed out high quality trades and low quality trades. I want to go over one more example that I'm currently in that I'm a really big fan of right now, which is Google. And I'm actually going to use my annotations here just because they're kind of all part of it. So Google, similar idea, right? Generally speaking, buyers are effectively in control here in the short term. We got this one above average sell day, which should be a little bit of a concern. However, price was able to move higher above that. So not too big of a red flag. Yesterday, we moved lower, held this big weekly level on slightly increased volume. It was a red bar, so you can't give it too much significance. Now today, we're beginning to engulf the prior day's bar, holding the support once again and holding above trend on rising volume once again, right? So this is another example of a setup that I'm a very big fan of here in the short term. And it's something that if you're following my tab, you know that I've already positioned somewhere around the weekly point of control, a couple, cents above it. It was like 137 is when I ended up getting in there yesterday. But regardless, right, it's something that I'm still looking for higher in. And it's one of the more constructive setups in the marketplace right now. And again, one of the biggest reasons I think that is all rooted in volume price analysis, right? If we take a look at the EMAs, this is simply just an orderly pullback directly into the EMAs, right? Directly into the 21 EMA on the daily. No significant selling on the way down, indicating no signs of people unloading their positions, right? For example, if we saw significant selling on the way lower, to me, that would indicate somebody is emptying their warehouses, right? A larger institution is getting rid of their larger position. However, we're not currently seeing that. And as a result, this should be viewed as an orderly pullback into the moving averages. Simple, right? Within an uptrend. And the same idea took place on CLF, right? Another trade idea that we hit a couple of weeks ago, right? Same exact idea. Oh, well, I actually kind of like these annotations, so I'll roll with them, right? Same exact idea, right? All you need is volume here, right? Look at this. Rising volume on the breakout here, right? Orderly pullback on significantly low volume, right? First day breakout, massive volume. Second day follow through, massive volume. Then this rejection, also on massive volume. But then we gap above it the next day on even higher volume. So, and again, now another suspicious thing here. We filled this gap in its entirety, and we're seeing rising volume once again after pulling back into the 21 EMA. So these are the type of things that I'm looking for day in and day out. And I saw a question that came through earlier. Does this work on the 5-minute? Let's look. Let's look and see. Do I have any good examples on Google here? Yes, this is not bad. So 5-minute chart here. It's not the greatest example. This might be a little bit confusing, so I think I want to skip this one for now because that's a little bit more of a different concept that I haven't covered yet. Let's think of a better example today. I'm trying to think of one off the top of my head. Maybe Tesla had a couple good ones. Not great. Nothing too interesting. What else would I want to look at here? Let's see if I get lucky on the cues. Not exactly. Today was a little bit of a mess with the FOMC. This isn't a great showing. SPY end of day. All right. Oh yeah, I mean, see, it's almost hard with the end of day though, River, just because it's always volumes always are so high, end of day and during the day. Um, Today was just such a weird day. I mean, there really honestly wasn't many great examples, I feel like, of what I'd want to see. Maybe if we look back a couple of days actually on the cues, probably we'll have something a little bit better here. Yeah, this double bottom will probably be pretty good. Let's see here. Yeah, so this is a decent example. Yeah, I got the same idea as you, River, except I went with the cues. All right. I think this was the mega volume day at least. Yeah, River's favorite stock is Tesla. So this is the same exact concept illustrated here on the 5-minute, right? Notice previous low a day, pre-market low. We break down on rising volume, right? We follow through the next bar on rising volume. We follow through the next bar on rising volume. We follow through the next bar on rising volume. If you don't know it by this candle that this is a strong downtrend, I don't know what to tell you, right? You have everything that you could possibly ask for a strong downtrend lower, right? 3 to 4 bear bars closing near their lows, rising selling volume on the way down. This is very evidently a downtrend, right? Next, you get this perfectly orderly pullback almost directly into the EMAs, right? On declining buying volume, tiny candle spreads, right? This is exactly the type of things that you're looking for through volume price analysis, right? You're looking for this type of very easy thing to spot, right? Significant selling volume, small retest on declining volume, right? Look at the difference, even if you're not looking at volume, just put attention on the difference between these bars, right? Look at just the difference, right? You can very clearly see how large the spreads of these candles are. I mean, these are 50-cent candles, boom, boom, boom. And then these candles are 5 cents, 10 cents, 3 cents, right? So these bars are very clearly incredibly weak, right? Very clearly weak bars higher, right? Where these are bull bars closing near their low. These are, or excuse me, bear bars closing near their lows, not many wicks. These are bull bars, but I mean, they got significant wicks to the upside and downside. The spreads are very tiny. The volume is low, right? So when you see something like this, you should usually not be bullish. Plain and simple, right? This isn't something where you're seeing a significant amount of bulls stepping in here, right? And as a result, you have to be paying attention to the larger context, which is the trend lower here. And I mean, real simple way to trade this, even if you wanted to wait, break down on massive volume once again, right? And then you get multiple bars following through lower, probably a measured move down from this initial move. Shout out Al Brooks. close. I guess if we go from here, it's probably a measured move down. Yeah, pretty much a measured move down. Shout out Al Brooks. So exactly what you would be looking for through your volume price analysis. And this is something that you'll see flips do sometimes off the open. You'll see a lot of traders. You'll see River trading like this and posting in his tab like this. And this is simply a system behind understanding volume. So now you're not just kind of blindly looking at volume and saying, oh, this volume's high. What does that mean? Right? Now you have an idea of the patterns that you should be looking for. You have an idea of the significance behind what actually matters when you're seeing this above average volume, right? Because it's not something that's just a fluke, right? I guarantee you, every time you see above average volume, it's going to be something to pay attention to, right? I mean, I think this is probably the case in point, which is Mara. I mean, I think maybe the daily depicts it a little bit better. When we break these highs, this is the volume that we're breaking the swing highs with. That's not an insignificant, oh wait, maybe I'm one forward. Either way, right? Here's the average volume right around this area, right? All of a sudden, I guess this is actually a really nice example. Yes, I'm putting these arrows on the volume bars just to help illustrate things. But this is a really nice example actually as well. Price, maybe I'll zoom out a little bit. That's a little too aggressive. Hang on. So we get a couple of these significant sell days, right? Which you can't deny, right? Obviously, it's an interesting amount of sellers. However, no follow through on either of those days. Price remains in an uptrend, right? So you have to be thinking that these sellers were absorbed by a significant amount of buyers, right? Because both of these, I mean, these are massive sell days. I mean, the largest in a year, pretty much, these two sell days. But both of them, none of them followed through lower. None of them changed the trend, right? EMAs remain in a positive trend. Then we start to see buyers stepping in, just scattered throughout, right? We see this pullback here, no follow through again, right? Gap holds. So seeing this type of volume as a stock is trending higher is very indicative of what's to come, right? And, you know, obviously it could have been anybody's guess that when Mara broke 10, it was going to 31. I mean, me personally, when Mara broke 10, I sold it all at 11. So I can't act like I knew this was going to 30 because there's no way I would have ever thought that. However, this is the idea. So I threw a lot of examples at you guys, looking at volume, looking at price, and understanding the correlation between the two and why it matters. I'm sure a lot of people have a lot of questions and a lot of things that I should cover again. So I want to try and dedicate the rest of our time this evening to addressing some of the things that maybe I should try and reword, some of the things that maybe I went over too quickly, or something that you want me to touch again. Yeah, Helmy, I can talk a little bit about that QQQ once again. We'll kick it off with that. So moving back into this QQQ example, right? The idea is rather simple, right? This is something that you probably heard before, right? This isn't necessarily something new. However, hopefully it helps you frame the way you think about these things a little bit differently. So again, right? QQQ, price is sitting in a range for an hour, right? Automatically, if price is in a range, you know it's compressing for a move in the future, right? That's what you have to be thinking. Every time you see price basing or ranging, all you should be thinking is it is setting up for a larger move. You look anywhere and that's the case, right? Mara, basing before the move. A firm, basing before the move. Flagging before the move. What else is a good one? CLF, basing before the move. Consolidating before the move, right? Tesla, consolidating, basing before the move, right? So very common to see this type of price action. So again, back to QQQ. And also it's important to note that we really only have a trend. I think we have a strong trend generally in financial markets about what is it, River? Like 20 to 10% of the time, I think is the Al Brooks quote. The rest of the time is range. So generally you can see price is sitting in a range here off the open. Range here off the open. You get a high volume breakdown out of this range, literally the highest volume since the opening bar. So that's very significant, right? You break lower and lower and lower on rising and rising volume. When you're looking at this, all you should be thinking is that bears are in complete control of the trend here in the short term, complete control of the trend. And when volume prices analysis is the strongest is when you can see these types of indications on multiple time frames. So something, this specific example isn't the best because obviously QQQ is in a massive uptrend. So you'd be technically counter trending. You'd be counter trading the major trend. However, there's plenty of actionable trades to do things like that all the time. Regardless of that, you break down out of this, I don't want to call it opening range, but range off the open on high volume, move lower on higher volume. A little bit of an Al Brooks thing here. You got bear bars closing near their lows, which is a significant indication of a strong downtrend or a large amount of selling pressure. Coupled with this volume, it's very indicative of a strong trend lower. Then next, again, you get this low volume, very weak retest higher, right? Lower sell volume as price moves higher. And what this shows, right, looking at this without any drawings, the difference between these two, let's make this another color here so we can see. The difference between these two boxes is one, this first box here shows the conviction of sellers. This box here shows the weakness of buyers, right? It's very evident who is in control. You have to remember that markets are always a game of tug of war between buyers and sellers, both of them looking to gain control at any moment in time. And when you see something like this pop up, it's very obvious who's in control, right? Such a significant amount of sellers with literally no buyers, right? I mean, as price moves higher, the buyers vanish, right? And then ultimately, we get this one big red bar wiping them all out, sweeping all their buys and moving price lower. So that's the big idea behind this QQQ example. And again, the power of really paying attention to volume just is so crucial because it truly will highly increase the quality of the trades that you take. And I can't exaggerate this enough. I mean, truly, Google, very simple. I mean, really. I mean, I can even show you what I went into the week looking for, right? Let me pull it up somewhere. I mean, this was really my main reason for trading Google this week. 3 significant weeks higher with a tiny sell week. Let's look at how that looks. Look at this, right? I mean, this is insane. You have this 3 massive weeks higher. Boom, boom, boom. Then this is all sellers can do, right? That's it. This is the effort that sellers were able to put up when price broke out, right? When I see something like this, it's so easy for me to look to trade this higher, right? I mean, this is so obvious what's going on here to me, right? And this is something that everybody else is going to build soon, right? With time. But really, very obvious what's going on here, right? 3 significant high buy volume weeks. Once sellers finally get a chance to do something, they do nothing. The lowest volume, let's see in how many weeks. This is the lowest sell volume in at least 3 years. This week right here. Lowest volume at all in 3 years. And it's sell volume. Now, obviously, we had one day off. It was the Christmas week. So it's expected to be lower volume. However, it's still telling, right? It's still telling when you see low volume like that, right? Because if people really wanted to sell, they would have sold last week. And you can see now we're 2 days into the week, holiday week, and we already have almost outpaced the volume from the prior week, and we'll outpace it by tomorrow almost certainly. We're only 20 million volume behind, so we'll certainly outpace this volume this week. And I mean, it's just an excellent technical setup. And I didn't even realize this, but we came back down, retested the weekly 9 EMA. I mean, it's just something, I just love it. And originally my trade idea was trying to structure it off of this 139 spot, trading it based off this flag into the 9. But when I saw it come just a little bit lower into the weekly point of control, which is a stronger support, for me, it was pretty much a no-brainer, right? It was effectively a no-brainer to be getting long here, considering the amount of weak sellers that we saw above this level. It's so easy for me to take a stab long at strong support, which is what I did. And I'm still looking for this one to continue higher, and I still wouldn't really hate entries back above this 139.30. And this is really when volume price analysis all comes together. And I see questions about WPOC, DPOC. Those are two different levels derived from the volume profile. And the volume profile is something that I've talked about in pretty much every single one of my lectures for the past 2 years in some capacity. And it's truly one of the more fundamental parts of my trading. That said, this is another form of volume price analysis, and another real crucial way that I structure trades, and I'm able to find such key levels so easily is because it's, I mean, it's honestly, it didn't take me much to find that level. This pink line right here, 136.31. Here's how I found that level and traded off it. Put in the same price, 136.31, make it pink. There you go. Now it's on my chart, right? So really, really simple. I love the volume profile. It's such a powerful indicator, and it just goes to show already off of this bounce, and hopefully this one continues a little bit higher into the end of the week, but we'll see. So yeah, that I don't even remember what question I was answering. Oh, what is the DPOC and weekly POC? Yeah, so DPOC is the daily point of control. Weekly POC is, or WPOC is the weekly point of control. And essentially that represents the strongest level of support over that time frame. If that makes sense. Could I please check NEO with volume? Yeah, so NEO was one that I was actually interested in. And I still am interested, and I actually have a smaller position on it. But today's daily bar isn't really my favorite. And it should be pretty obvious why, right? We have these two decently above average sell days, and this buy day wasn't really able to overwhelm those previous days. Now, it's not really a massive red flag, but it's not amazing, right? And not every setup's going to be perfect. Maybe tomorrow we get a larger push of volume, um, which would be fine for me. However, right, I think Neo generally looks okay, right? It's still holding above this trend, holding above critical support, holding on top of the EMAs, right? So really nothing wrong with it right now, but definitely not the type of volume that I would have liked to see on this first bounce. I would have liked to see a little bit more volume there. But we'll see what happens tomorrow. But yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on Neo. Oh my God. All right, Norman, we got to check RMBS. So Norman, I gave you a trade plan on RMBS months ago. I mean, just use these levels, bro. I mean, these levels were pretty good when I gave them to you the first time. So yeah, just use them again. Here, I'll add another one for you. We'll throw this one on there. 70. Just trade them levels. That's all you really need. You get a retest. Let's see. Here you got the 50-day right here. So I'd probably long that. 63 gaps filled. Probably stop out below. You're in a 4-month out contract, 75 strike. Yeah, I'd probably be long above the 63. I don't know if I'd be in a contract that's 75, 20% out of the money, but it's okay. Yeah, it doesn't look amazing in terms of from a volume price analysis perspective, and I also don't know what that is, but that is definitely not good. I have no idea what that is. That must have been some kind of inside sell day or something. But yeah, in terms of volume price analysis, this looks terrible. But if you ignore that, it looks fine, I guess. There's can stock. It's a crypto stock. No, Norman, you get one lecture. You got your chance. David says, "What's my opinion on buy versus sell volume indicators?" Yeah, it's an interesting question. Me personally, I kind of can get overwhelmed by all the information that those provide. So I used to kind of trade with some time and time again, and I've been kind of on and off with it. Generally speaking, though, these days I kind of like to have less indicators where possible. So this is all my charts really look like. It's a couple moving averages, a couple levels, and just plain old volume. So nothing really too complicated. Can those volume indicators provide useful information? Absolutely. There's some real nice volume indicators that you could use. There's some simpler volume indicators as well. I have a couple posted in my tab. There's this indicator that I like a little bit. If we pull it up here, buy versus sell. This volume indicator, it can be kind of nice. It just separates all the bars between buyers and sellers, which this one is one that I maybe would consider use in the future, but I don't know. At this point, I kind of just prefer to have no volume indicator, but there's a bunch that can do some cool stuff. I know River just dug one up recently. That's pretty cool. That I think I might have it somewhere. Maybe. Uh, let's see if I can find it. Is it this one? Uh, maybe this isn't it. Oh yeah. So here's one. I mean, it's kind of the same idea. Volume indicator shows a little bit more. Like it shows you the total day volume and it splits out the buy and sell volume per candle and does this kind of weird painting stuff depending, um, yeah, how it changes. But yeah, so that's that. But yeah, I generally don't use many volume indicators. JB says, new trader here. You'd like a mentor? It's your third time trying to succeed. Does anyone have any advice? Well, I will say I'm a little bit biased, but I'd like to think you came to the right place. We got a big team here to help you. You got myself and River here. I would like your Discord name so we can try and keep in touch a little bit more directly. And this is an invitation, not just to you, but to everybody to take advantage of us while you're here. And, we'd love for you to stay here a long time, but, we get maybe you're not going to, but while you're here, send us some messages, set up some one-on-ones with us. And, we'll make the time to talk with you when we can. And, we're here to help. That's kind of what we love doing. So send messages and JB, since you're brand new, and this is to anybody brand new, I'm sure we got a couple of you in here. I highly, highly, highly recommend the beginners course series. And this is something, I'm pretty biased. Again, I made it myself. So, I'd like to think that it's pretty good. But this is really, in my opinion, what is one of the best sets of content to take you from knowing nothing to knowing enough to really start to get a good amount of knowledge under your belt and put you in a position where you can start to really dive into some more advanced topics and really start to refine down how you actually want to trade. So that's my recommendation is number one, use your resources here to the fullest extent, ask questions. And again, this is a conversation that everybody could take advantage of. We got the trade floor here to ask questions. You can DM all of us, send questions over. We have these tabs here where you can ask questions as well. But yeah, I couldn't recommend more. Take advantage of the resources that you have available. I mean, anybody here on the support team that's active, anybody here, feel free to send a message. We got the elders here that you could take advantage of. So yeah, I mean, reach out, ask questions, take a look at the beginners course series. Last thing I'll mention is that every single day, Flips talks about trading in the voice chat, literally every single day, every single morning. Well, I guess sometimes he takes days off, but pretty much every single day, the guys in VC talking stocks. So couldn't recommend that more as well. It's definitely going to be a little bit more on the advanced side of things, but it doesn't hurt to immerse yourself fully into the culture, if you will, and start to learn things on a deeper level. But yeah, that said, I yeah, couldn't recommend taking advantage of all your resources available. And yeah, send me a message tonight, or send River a message tonight, or send both of us a message tonight, and we can start to engage in some discussions more personally. And again, this is a response that applies to everybody. Doesn't matter if you're new, doesn't matter if you've been here a while, doesn't matter if River doesn't like you. Send them a message, send us a message. If you don't want to message either of us, you don't want to message me, River, send a message to somebody else. We're all here to help. That's what we want to do. And if you don't reach out, we don't know you're having problems. We can't read your mind. So you guys got to make yourself known. Let us know that you're here and that you got questions. So yeah. All right. Here goes Norman again. Good. I'm happy to hear. Yeah. Reach out to Tilio too. The guy's a wealth of knowledge. I mean, the guy Tilio here, you can find him here. He has a level of knowledge that I think is unparalleled in the community, by myself, by anyone here, by most people on the internet as well. And I can say that rather confidently. So highly recommend reaching out to Tilio as well for maybe deeper level things, like maybe things more related to fundamentals or just his strategy if you want to hear more from him. But again, I can't stress enough that there's so many resources available to you here, but we can't help you if you don't let us know that you need help. And yeah, we can't read your mind, and you got to put the work in. So you can't just sit around and expect us to come right to you. We'll try, but it's hard. So reach out, let us know you got questions, let us know you need want to find some more resources and specific things you have questions about, and we'll be around to help you. Yeah, Josh, I feel the same way. I feel the same way. All right, Norvin, what about Rivian? I'm only looking at Rivian because I like Rivian too. Um, oh, it's holding that 20. I don't know, Norvin. I think it's time for us to get back in. From a volume price analysis standpoint, it looks pretty bad, to be honest. It looks pretty bad. However, it is coming back into a real key level. I don't know why it dumped like this. I'd be interested to see why it's down like 15% in 2 days. I mean, it's a shit stock, so they kind of do that sometimes, but this is pretty big. This is a pretty big dump. So yeah, I don't know why it's down so terrible. All right, NITEXX1109. All right, I'll send you a message right now. Hang on. NITEXX 1109. I can't find you. Why am I not finding you? From NIT? I don't know why. I can't find you. Oh, there we go. Took a while. All right. I'll send you a message and we'll start this dialogue. Hello. Be funny if there was a bunch of other messages for you that I haven't responded to here. Okay. Um, cool. Anybody else have any questions? Anybody else have anything that they're curious about before we wrap up for the evening? Really appreciate everybody coming out. Super nice turnout this evening and hope I made you guys time worth it. Um, yeah, we'll be here every week. Sounds like we've had a great start to the year in terms of lectures, and we do this every week. We have a lot of fresh content for you guys, and we're excited to bring it to you all. And yeah, you guys, I mean, we're really happy to have you guys all here. I definitely see some new faces, so hope you guys stick around. Again, we love doing these lectures. I mean, this is one of my favorite things to do. I almost like this more than trading, honestly. I really love the lectures, so it's just fun to get to interact with all you guys and see everybody grow. So yeah, yeah, Josh, I did actually help you today, so that was good. Hopefully, hopefully it ends up working out for you. Hopefully AMD doesn't end up at like 150 tomorrow. Where can you find the beginner's course I mentioned? Yeah. Actually, here, give me a sec. I will show you the best place to find it. Give me 1 second to get where I want to go. Um, how do I do this? All right. So if you want to find the beginner's course series, it's actually available to you in a playlist on YouTube. If you go to the beginner's course series here, click it. Oops, that's not what I thought it was going to do. Oh, oh, I can hear myself talking. I don't want to hear that. How do I send this link? How do I? Maybe this. Maybe this is just the link. I don't know. That might just work. But that's the link to the playlist on YouTube. It's about, oh, I didn't mean to close that out. It's about like 15 hours of content. So, you can bang it out in a couple weeks if you want, one a day or one every other day or something like that. Yeah, I think it's pretty good, but I'm biased. I made it myself. So, you might not agree, but yeah, I highly recommend taking a look at that course series. It's real tailored to the types of people that we get in here, some newer traders and yeah, hopefully you find value in that. And yeah, as always, I really encourage you guys all to reach out to me, reach out to River, reach out to the rest of the team. We're here to help. And yeah, hope to see you guys all in the next class and hope you guys keep the attendance going strong the next couple of weeks at least, get the year started off right. Team Smallport, I like that pen. Cool. All right, everybody. Well, it's been a pleasure. Hope you guys all have a great rest of your evening. As always, appreciate you guys' attendance. These lectures are nothing without you guys all here. So bro, Norvin, you're off the rails, bro. All right. I'll see you guys later. Oh, what's Peef sending? Peef, do you have a question? Send a screenshot of the Discord. I want to make sure. I'll stick around and make sure Peef is okay. And if anybody else has any questions, I'll stick around for you. But yeah, that's the end of the content for tonight. So again, appreciate everybody being here. And yeah, I'll see you guys on the next one. Just sent the course to the beginners. Oh yeah. Thank you, Peef. All right, cool. Thanks everybody. See you guys on the next one. Adios.